Hi and welcome back for another episode of me just sharing some lessons from my cycling expedition. So the year and a half that I spent exploring Asia and the Middle East by bicycle. My name is Anne Westwards, and if you like, feel free to subscribe to this page or this channel, and I'll make sure that I get more podcast episodes coming. So today I would like to share some thoughts with you about the beauty of having less. So this ties in with what I talked before about radical acceptance and thinking from a state of abundance. So if something is lacking, so just factually lacking, for example, we are supposed to stay at home and in order to make sure to not infect others with a virus, or if we actually meet people, it's supposed to be outdoors and we shouldn't actually be close. So I live alone in this apartment, so am I lacking social contact? Of course I am. That is the case. Is there something that I'm lacking beyond that, something material? Of course, yes. I spent a week and a half trying to get some milk. There's none to be had, it seems, in Berlin. And I don't need milk, but I do like having a matcha latte from time to time. So there's different ways we can handle these situations. So one option is to complain about what is missing, what we're lacking. And in particular, when it comes to social contact, well, we are social animals after all. So I think there are very few people who actually don't miss the social interaction, the groups we usually attend, the team meetings, the training. Of course, we are missing that, and we could complain about that, and many of us do. The other option is to actually work with what we have. So when it comes to food items that we are lacking, for example, well, of course, we all have our favorite dishes, but we also know that there are recipes where we can find out easily on the internet how to try a new recipe that actually works without that one ingredient that we cannot get. This beauty of less is also, so it doesn't deny this, I guess you could also call this minimalism in a way. I still prefer the beauty of less because it's a matter of appreciating things. So seeing the beauty of not having everything. So during my cycling expedition, believe me, I really, really, really did appreciate every single fresh piece of fruit or vegetable I could lay my hands on. I spent a lot of time in steppes and deserts, in high altitude mountains where those fresh items of food were really, really hard to get by. In Mongolia, I remember that I had a really hard time getting any piece of fruit, for example. So if I did find apples, and apples are heavy, they contain lots of water, I would buy as many as I could. A bike is a very limited mode of transport. So normally about 5, if I could find 5 apples in the first place. And then I would have an apple not every day, but every second day, because who knew when I would get my next batch of apples. So when I would A, cross a village, and B, if they would have apples at all. And believe me, that was the highlight of those 2 days. So in 2-day intervals, I would have 1 apple. And it was the best thing that I could have ever imagined. Like, those were small apples that probably didn't have much in terms of aroma. It didn't matter to me. It tasted like the best dish in the world. And that's what I mean with appreciating and actually having less. And so minimalism is about having less out of a choice that you make. Sometimes you just have less than normal. And it's not by your choice, it's by the circumstances. But then you can actually make it matter and really enjoy it. So as I did eating this apple. So now if you actually have social contact, so if you meet a friend outdoors over the weekend, or if I meet a friend outdoors, I'm radiant. I'm very, very excited. I mean, of course I take care of keeping the distance, but I did realize that the conversations that I have become a lot deeper. Both people appreciate a lot more the presence of the other person. There's a lot less small talk. Like, I have the feeling that conversations dive deeper. And I guess that happens when two people really appreciate having the other person around. The same is true when I have phone conversations at the moment. I feel it. Yeah, since we have less social contact, at least I try to make those points of contact matter. So what happens if we actually are missing something and we can't find this? So this happened to me when I searched for 4 months for oatmeal. So this is a long time, even for me. For 3 countries, I crossed 3 countries in this time in Central Asia, and I just could not find oatmeal. I like having some kind of porridge or cereal in the morning. And yes, I can do without, but I also needed to get some carbohydrates, just very practically speaking. And just couldn't find oatmeal. And I mean, then it's time then I thought, well, okay, and come on, it's time to remember that we got this far as a human species because humans can invent things. They can use things for other purposes. So yeah, I found my way around the missing oatmeals. I just realized that, well, I need some carbohydrates in the morning. I don't feel like cooking rice in the morning. So I had biscuits. So it wasn't quite like oatmeal. So I actually had my milk powder and some nuts, and if I had an apple, I would also cut the apple into it and have this mixture, and then on the side I had some biscuits. And that worked. It wasn't perfect, but yeah, it was enough, and it made me appreciate oatmeal a lot more. I still do. And the same comes true for most things. I don't know if you knew, but if you're lacking thread, so if your clothes are torn and you have to take care of them, repair this, you can actually use dental floss, which makes a very strong thread for sewing. And there's a ton of things which you can reuse. And once you get into this mindset of, oh well, these are all the things I have. So normally you are used to, to this mindset where you want to do something and then we realize, oh, there's something missing. So what do? We then go to a shop, a supermarket, and buy what we are missing, or maybe we order something online. And we're not so much used to this mindset of, well, this is all I have, and whatever I'm missing, I won't get this. So how can I work around this? And there's a dozen ways, and actually, once you get into this mindset, it's like a scavenger hunt. It becomes actually, so I really enjoyed that. I never considered myself to be a very practical person. For some reason, I guess I just didn't have many opportunities in my life to discover that I was a practical person. I come from an engineering family, so whenever something broke, there were already at least 2 people who were eager to repair these things and a lot better in repairing things than I was. And then, one of the reasons why I also wanted to go on this bike trip alone was just being thrown back on myself, whatever happened. So if something broke, if my bike had to be repaired, there was just one person, this person, who had to take care of this. And it was a wonderful experience, really. Of course, there are a lot of things which in retrospect or some months into the trip, I realized, oh, I could have solved this differently. But it's really empowering to realize that even if there's something lacking, you can do this. You're an inventive, creative person. We all are. I mean, if you look at children, and we've all been children at some point in our lives, children do this all the time. Or maybe nowadays children are complaining if they are lacking something, but still, if you then tell them, well, no, you can't have another color for drawing this picture, they'll make do with what they have. And that's now the task of us. So yeah, I hope that I could inspire you a little bit of, this philosophy of the beauty of less. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments or elsewhere of if that's something that you are living already in your life. And if you'd like to try, I would even be more interested in hearing, how you enjoy the journey. That being said, that's all for today. Stay healthy and I'll see you again soon. Bye!